This is the perfect place for chickens!
Why do you want chickens so bad?
Because!
It's good to have thoughts when you're podcasting. Hey, fun fans, it's We Enjoy talking about Rocky 2. He's dumber now in the main event today.
That was the subtitle.
I was telling Eric, got thoughts on Rocky 2 for the main event, and I'm sure Eric does as well. That's what podcasts are all about. I just am curious as to how they converge or diverge as we head into the super successful sequel to the mega award-winning blockbuster hit Rocky in today's main event. Coming at you as fast as Apollo Creed's jabs with these because we recorded the last one a little later in the week. So these feel like they might be on top of each other, much like Apollo and Rocky in the fight in the main event in the Philadelphia Spectrum, where they're just on top of each other.
That's okay. This one's going up slightly late. We'll get back on track.
Maybe not. Maybe.
We're getting there.
All right. We are the Mattitude Eric. I am Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric Goldman.
Hello, everybody.
All right. I don't know. Let's just dig into Quantumania news. How about that? Because Quantumania dropped a new trailer, the final one, presumably before the movie releases next month. One indicating the sort of darker, grimmer tone, not just a character that we saw at SDCC, but the actual tonal shift for an Ant-Man movie itself that Kevin Feige talked about, but we sort of got a glimpse of it Comic-Con, but wasn't quite present in that first trailer.
And
this one feels a lot darker and a lot more substantial as an Ant-Man movie in the ways that it could actually affect the MCU as a whole. Because Ant-Man movies have been known to be the sort of lighter offshoot detours that are just sort of feel-good fun superhero romps, especially that second one. Ant-Man and the Wasp, which felt very slight in various ways, but this one looks to be like, I believe Peyton Reed even said he's like, it was time for Ant-Man no longer to be a palate cleanser, as he called it.
And they definitely talked about this. And look, even there's the fact that they weren't just introducing Kang, but he'd be the main villain, because like Thanos was in the first Guardians, but he was like in a handful of scenes. But here it's like, no, Kang is the main villain. And so much more just important as a movie to the MCU, to like the storyline, which is very important to people. And that, this trailer, especially like humor free, which the movie will not be. It's not like they cut all the jokes that were in the other trailer. There will be comedy in this movie, but kind of letting you know that a lot of this movie maybe will have a more serious tone, more serious stakes. Down to the fact that like the end of this trailer, like the way it's like, Scott Lang just getting beat down by Kang, raises even more people being like, maybe he'll die in this one, which I actually don't think he will. I think Hank Pym will, but
I think they both will. How about that?
They could,
I think the entire Lang Van Dyne clan,
even Cassie, like
I'm saying
she's not going to be a young Avenger. She's going to be a non-Avenger. He's taking them all out.
And it's funny because this is also as sort of serious in tone as this trailer was, and indicating like a little more of the plot as far as like the first trailer was like Janet letting everyone know that she didn't want them going back into the quantum realm. They kind of got all sucked back there, and she knows something that's down there. We assume it's Kang that she's fearful of. This one is more about Scott Lang's relationship with Kang, and maybe there's a sort of a deal made with the devil here. That Scott Lang has to try to undo, much like No Way Home, which is. And I know there's the complaint out there for superhero movies after a while of like, well, if the problem just comes from a superhero's mistake, then it's not a real. That's half of comics. Is these heroes fucking up and doing something like immeasurably bad unintentionally, and then having to fix it. So, and as long as you agree and can see your way through their decision making process, like. So many people were giving Star-Lord shit in Infinity War, obviously, even though he wasn't the only person in that movie to, you could say, make a mistake that led to everyone half of existence being erased. but his was the one where like we were in it with him in the moment when he could have like turned a different way.
Right.
But as long as the character rings true, that then it doesn't matter. Like you can be your own worst enemy, obviously.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, in Infinity War, isn't the whole thing that like Vision's like, I guess I have to die, but then they're all like, no, we got to save you. Well, if they just taken him up on his offer,
exactly. If Cap wasn't all like no one left behind, you know what I mean?
Right,
like, like if they literally let him sacrifice himself. Again, there were like 5 people in that movie who could have helped. And then the all of Endgame is Thor feeling guilty because he didn't kill Thanos with that one blow. He didn't aim for the head, or he didn't chop off the arm, right? Like with the glove. So it's anyway.
Yeah. Oh no, but yeah, I have no issue with it. Obviously we have to see exactly how it plays out here because my bigger pause is, hey, Scott should know better than like, you can't meddle with the past, and we'll see how it plays out. But as far as it coming from him, I'm fine with that because yes, it's like there's always that battle of like, you could, make the stakes as big as you want as far as the world could end, but you do want there to be a personal issue for the hero. Mm-hmm. And so often that'll be the hero fucking up and needing to amend for his mistake. It's just how they do it, the execution. So yeah, I do not have a problem with it being a potential Scott. Like obviously as that line about we had a deal, something happens where they have some sort of
like
agreement.
In the deal. I feel like we're also going to be watching for how Kang fits into what we've seen or been teased at regarding Loki. And what's coming in season 2 and how that all of that what's been going on over there affects the MCU at all, that what we've been watching, like is the TVA in the microverse, the quantum realm microverse, but you know what I mean, like where is that taking place and when?
Right. I also like that Kang they obviously have a big fight where one of his arms of his costume, his armor is torn off. So you can see just how buff Jonathan Majors is because he those pictures of him.
He's got Creed 3 arms.
Creed 3, yeah. It's like we gotta show the guns. We gotta show the Kang guns.
Hell yeah, he's got Lovecraft country guns.
Right.
I feel like and then we should also mention the MODOK in the room too, where people finally see MODOK. So I wanted to bring up the fact that it's funny to see one of the more absurd looking comic book Marvel characters in the more serious Ant-Man trailer. Like you could have shown him because it's like everyone's like, he's so goofy. He's a giant head in the first trailer with all the surreal stuff, but they actually saved him for the one where it's like, oh no, this movie's going to make me cry a lot.
Right. And they also give away who he is unless there's some strange other twist, but I don't think so, Yeah. They pretty much, because they show the big shot of MODOK with the armor, with the mask. There's an earlier shot in the trailer where he's just floating behind Kang, no mask, and it's clearly Corey Stoll. Yeah. And there were rumors Corey Stoll was back in this movie, and that seems to confirm that, his character did not die at the end of the first Ant-Man, and is, again, in the comics, has no connection to MODOK, but they change things up all the time.
So this is going to be a very different MODOK than what we've grown used to in the comics and video games, animated series, and the new animated comedy, even.
Now canceled, but yes.
Well, it was still new.
Yes, it was in the past year.
Yeah, last year. That's new.
Sure.
All right. Does anything... I'm sorry, Eric. Does the only things in the last 2 weeks qualify as new?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, it looks good. I don't want to overhype it, but I can't help it because I'm a giant mark. Anyway,
it does look good. The MODOK actually was 2 years ago. It was 2021.
Was it now?
I know, right? Time
then it is old. Ugh, disgusting.
Yeah. Ugh, out with the old. Yeah.
So, this actually was a news story we pondered during last time around when we did the podcast because it broke right beforehand, I think.
Yes.
Which is, and this is something that I haven't spoken about in a few years because the movie's way behind schedule for being released because it's shot in 2021. Again, as we just indicated.
Again, raises eyebrows.
When old things happened. Like 2021 old. We announced the casting of this movie, the production of this movie. I'm obviously more excited about it than Eric because I'm a big fan of the game franchise Borderlands. but it has been sitting around for a while, and it is going to go through reshoots. And those reshoots are not being done by Eli Roth, the original director. They are being done by Deadpool director Tim Miller, who I think would have been a better pick to direct a Borderlands movie than Eli Roth to begin with. But guess what? Guess who's not out here asking me who should direct Borderlands? Everyone. So, but yeah. So apparently the story is that Eli Roth has to do his Thanksgiving movie, the movie based on the fun sort of interlude from the Grindhouse double feature 15 years ago. When was that? So a long time ago.
Yeah. I call bullshit.
Yeah, I know.
Not that
I know.
Thanksgiving is happening.
There's a way of sort of like parsing the trades, who's breaking the story, the language used, and how it's being presented as fluffier than it ever could be. Right? Like, I'm giving this gig to my good friend Tim Miller.
My pal Tim Miller will finish this movie I worked on. Tim Miller, who, guess what, guys, would not be cheap to come in for 2 weeks to like do this. So yeah, we often movies, have like big retooling, big reshoots, and sometimes they just have the same director, and sometimes other people come in, and sometimes it's like a huge deal, and sometimes it's not. Like Rogue One is a good example to me because we know because it's been talked about, but never really acknowledged by Lucasfilm, that Tony Gilroy came in and directed extensive reshoots on that movie. Not Gareth Edwards, the credited director, but everyone played nice. And when the movie came out, Gareth Edwards did the interviews for it. And it's just like, everything was just like, hey, we're all a happy family. And that's not to say that it's we hate each other family either. It's just that the fact that someone else is doing these reshoots, I don't buy that it's just because Eli Roth was busy. If he was in the middle of production, that'd be one thing, but he's not. He's prepping something else, but he could take the time to do this if they wanted to work this all out. They could delay, like you said, a movie that Thanksgiving, not like they've been racing to make Thanksgiving.
Yeah. This isn't exactly when the iron's hot for Thanksgiving movie. That would have been 2008,
Right. Which is funny because Grindhouse was a bomb, by the way. So it is funny that there keeps being, there's been multiple spinoffs of it now. But yeah, so it doesn't mean like, hey, the movie's doomed. It doesn't mean anything except that it was funny to see it's all good. And it was in Deadline. Well, I'll talk shit about Deadline. I've talked shit about them before, which is credible as far as like if they have a casting scoop or something, it's going to be true. But they also were kind of a little bit, they have a bad reputation. First of all, with other outlets because they're just shitty about sourcing. If someone else broke something,
they won't link out.
Sometimes they haven't even mentioned when like a small outlet had a scoop. And then they have like more info. They don't mention the smaller outlet. And this is the second time, it's funny, Matt, that in a few weeks, because they're the ones that did that. No, Black Adam will make money. That there was a lot of rumors like Dwayne Johnson was.
They're the ones that the studios go to sort of try to gild the lily a bit.
Yes,
and like paint a weird, nice bullshit sheen on something. Yeah, so that's a reputation they have as well. So
yeah, and
that's what I meant by like looking at what who's reporting it, what's the language being used, and like you kind of become a little wary of things. Yeah.
And again, doesn't mean in any way, shape, or form like Borderlands is doomed. It can't be good because I just mentioned Rogue One, a movie I fucking love, which had extensive reshoots by a different director. So we'll see. It just was funny to see the way that messaging, came out about it.
And again, we don't know what elements of this movie are being reshot in these 2 weeks. I guess a concern I have is that Borderlands fans will know this character very well, Tiny Tina, who just actually got her own spin-off game, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, as far as like she's a huge character in it. You don't play as her, but being played by Ariana Greenblatt, who's now 2 years older. I'm just saying, if you have a 13-year-old and now you have a 15 or 16-year-old, so you always have to be wary of that. Yeah,
that's why spoilers for Morbius, everyone. But that's why I was just listening to How Did This Get Made about Morbius, and they were joking about the fact that the little girl who has Morbius disease vanishes from the movie. Like she's put into a coma, and then they never mention her again. And I was like, well, that's because they reshot so much of this movie 2 years later, but she would be physically so much older, and they didn't want to reshoot everything with her, with a different actress, so they're just
Yeah.
like, fuck it, she's in the coma forever. We'll never mention her. I'm sure she was supposed to come back.
She went up the stairs like the Winslow sister in Property Matters and never came downstairs. Yeah, exactly.
And I think they were just like, it's too much trouble to bring to either, you know, reshoot everything or try to de-age her. So she just stays in a coma off screen. It's fine.
They de-age her, but somehow she looks like Michael Douglas.
Right? Ooh.
It's weird.
Technology.
Speaking of things that are too much trouble, professional wrestling. We're not going to do a huge dive into all this, because I haven't made the effort to seek out anything beyond just like rumors that make me angry.
Sure.
And all of it breaks down into the fact that Vince McMahon was sort of forcibly edged out of his company as far as being in creative control and being in, you know, having
amidst
like,
not just terrible, you know,
just like awful sexual assault and rape accusations,
but
not
also,
just like bribing, not just cheating on his wife. Exactly. Right.
Yeah. But not to push aside the awfulness of the things he was accused of, but also financially of things that affected WWE as a company, because supposedly he had done a lot of payoffs with company money.
Right.
And there was all this, you know, there was a lot of reasons to force him out. Yes.
But we came to realize over the years, the only things that could actually get him away from this company, away from creative, was either death, was the Reaper's scythe coming down on him hard, you know, because of his advanced age, or something like this, where he, for the sake of, you know, the company and shareholders and everything, he would actually have to leave. But now they're playing the game of, it's been 6 months, things have died down, or nobody cares anymore. And the sale of WWE poising itself for a sale had been a huge story and rumors before all the Vince stuff.
Yes,
because they were firing people left and right, and they were cutting a lot of things that made it seem like they were getting the company in shape to sell. And that was all happening beforehand. But now it seems like they're really on the precipice of that, and because of that, Vince has come back to the company. They can't sell without him.
Basically, he forced his way back. Because he had changed the bylaws so that they couldn't sell without him signing off on it.
So all of this means is the fact that 6 months WWE has actually been creatively very enjoyable, as Hunter Hearst Helmsley as Triple H, Vince's son-in-law, has actually actively brought back so many of. Not only did he bring back so many people that got wrongfully fired, who were never given a chance and got fired, but also course corrected so many NXT call-ups that never manifested well on the main roster because of Vince, and gave them the vision that they had in NXT that Hunter helped with, and like helped them become more fully realized. And it was a huge thing to bring back not just Dakota Kai, but like move up Io Sky and put them in a tag team.
All right, we're saying too many names now, Matt. We're saying
I'm just saying.
names.
So SummerSlam was a big thing. I'm just saying 6 months was good.
Yes,
but now things are bad, and there are rumors that Saudi Arabia, that a Saudi Arabia public investment firm might purchase WWE, and that's no good if that's the case. But now there are also rumors, Eric. There's the rumors that the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund might buy the company, or they're one of the interested parties. I'm not ruling that out. That's not a rumor. They are. But so are the Khans, of which I mean Shahid Khan and AEW president Tony Khan, who could also buy WWE. And
that would be wild.
Being interviewed about it, like they're interested in a merger, and there would be a role for Vince and all that stuff. That would be hilarious.
That would be pretty wild. Yeah.
All right. That's all we'll see about that.
I'll just say we're checking in on this. If the sale actually happens, we'll certainly talk about it. Whether it be on here or a special We Enjoy Wrestling, we'll see.
All I'm saying is that I'll mourn the 6 months, and the good product ending the same way, not in the same way. I think I mourned more for NXT ending that era anyway than I did this, because nothing lasts forever, Eric. All right,
nothing lasts forever.
Let's move on to what do we got? We got some some messages here, some messages from people, but they're actually about wrestling, kind of, so we may have already kind of answered that stuff.
Oh, Matt, no.
What?
Also, we're doing this episode so close to the last one that
Yeah, I know. So, I'll just read this from Brandon from Indiana writes, "Greetings and salutations, my captains. I know this isn't a wrestling podcast, but love to get your take on the rumors of real life villain Vinnie Mac possibly selling our beloved WWE universe to Saudi Arabia." We just
against
talked
it.
about it.
It's bad.
Yeah. I I take umbrage with it, Brandon. And then Mike Mike from San Antonio, where the Royal Rumble will be very soon, writes in, also curious if either of you are coming to the Royal Rumble. After all, it might be the last chance we get to see WWE do something cool before Vince takes a flamethrower to it. The idea here that Mike is sort of hinting at and that I was talking about is that not only did Vince McMahon force himself back in as sort of the what does he see, like the head of the board,
chairman of the board,
something or other.
Yeah.
But that he'll take creative control again. That's something I don't think we.
Which is right now he's saying he won't, but a lot of people are like, if he's at the company, would he really be able to stop himself?
That's what I wasn't making clear earlier. Is that like we don't want him back in creative control?
No. And
that's what everyone is fearing will happen. So that's what Mike is referencing here, is that the Royal Rumble might be like, it's already said that we might not get a Triple H booked WrestleMania, but this might be the final Triple H booked pay-per-view. But we'll see. It's all doom and gloom at this point. I don't want to like get too far ahead of ourselves. But Mike also has an actual non-wrestling question, which is, I first saw the trailer for the upcoming Skinamarink at Alamo Drafthouse, and you could practically feel the mood inside the theater drop into a sense of dread. This kind of creepy, lo-fi bump in the night subgenre of horror is one I find quite terrifying, and with you guys also being huge fans of the genre, I was wondering what kind of horror gives you the most heebiest of jeebies?
First of all, I've been hearing a lot of buzz around Skinamarink, but I have not watched the trailer for it. It's all ethereal to me. Although I could go see it right now. You
could watch it right now, and I could just listen to you.
I could skip out on the podcast and go see it tonight at 9:45.
That's true. Bye.
City Walk. Yeah. No, I think it's playing this weekend, so I'll try to check it out. And it's a hard question because it just depends on, there's not like a specific type of horror, like, oh, that gets me. It's always just mood and whatnot. I mean, I think I recommended on here The Descent, and I talked about how one of the things that makes The Descent so effective is it's scary without the creatures. It's just because the sense of claustrophobia in that movie, of these girls that are going into this cave, and it's super scary, and they can barely fit through these spaces, is very evocative before the creatures, and that makes it even more scary. So, but that's not to say that's specifically the kind of horror that makes. So I don't know though. I don't have like a specific I know some people will be like scary ghost girls or whatnot.
Yeah, I think for me. And I don't even know if heebie-jeebies is the right term. And I don't just want to be like torture porn or whatever, because there's elements of that I don't care for. And I don't think Saw is that as much as the Hostel movies.
Mm-hmm.
Saw, I think, is a little more fun and games than it is actual. If you actually look at what torture porn is supposed to be, in that window, that era, it's so small. Right. I think it all harkens back to grindhouse horror, which like the sexploitation horror, which I think kind of gets the Last House on the Left and a lot of that kind of stuff. I think rubs me raw, and I'm not unique in this way, right? Like I think it's just really oogie, and the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre is quite a lot like that.
Yeah, and
most Rob Zombie things are like that because he's a huge fan, and you were talking about that with the Halloween movies of the meanness, right? And I think that's present in something like the new Terrifier movies. I've only seen the first one, but there's a kill in there that is super grotesque and super gory and super cruel and mean,
Yeah.
And I think there's an element of that you can argue that all horror is cruel in a way, but I don't know. There's a moment when you feel it's the director doing it and not the story.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's when it kind of steps out of its own skin a little for me.
Yeah, for sure. I know what you mean about like that sort of creepiness. And Last House on the Left, first time I saw that, I was not prepared. Yeah, when you mix in like sort of like, really icky sexual violence into it, that's certainly like, look, it's going to be effective, but do you want to watch it? Not necessarily. And I love the first Chainsaw Massacre. What makes it so effective is that, it feels like real, and like it feels like a found footage movie, even though it's not shot like a found footage movie. The vibe of it is so creepy, but there is a line where it can be too creepy, and I guess it's riding that line and seeing like, oh, we've got you versus like, oh, you're repulsed and you don't want to watch this anymore. That's the trick. That's the trick.
It's such a trick. All right.
Yes.
You can write into us like those fine fellows did on weenjoypodcast@gmail.com, or you can contact us through Patreon by being a Patreon patron, either a super fun fan or a Hudson Hawker in our 2 tiers there. And if you're a Hudson Hawk, you can get bonus episodes that are also commercial free. And we're on Twitter at We Enjoy Podcast, and the Matt Fowler and the Eric Goldman. Let's move on to our good things to enjoy. Eric, I see you are gonna recommend people go out and buy something physical.
Buy physical things.
Go to your store and say, I demand this.
Well, you can also order on several websites. We'll send them to you.
Go to the information superhighway and say, I demand this.
2 quick things I wanted to mention, and somewhat passing, but it's funny we were mentioning I mentioned found footage for a second ago, but a couple 4Ks. One I know comes out on Tuesday, Cloverfield. The other Groundhog Day, I can't remember if it just came out. It was about to come out. I just want to mention these 2 4Ks that I just checked out, early copies of. And Groundhog Day is a movie that actually I really like, but I've never like loved as much as people. But this most recent rewatch, I was like, okay, it's a very charming movie. I like this quite a bit. This is just a new Steelbook 30th anniversary edition. There's actually nothing new even about the transfer, because there was a 4K a few years ago, and there's a lot of good extras on it. I'm a little sad that Harold Ramis having passed away. It's like it's got his commentary, it's got an interview with him. But you kind of wish, like, oh, could they do like a retrospective on him? That would be cool. This was
the movie there. They had a big falling out, right? And apparently didn't make up until Ramis'
deathbed,
like a week before he died, maybe. Right?
Harold Ramis and Bill Murray, and so but it's if you didn't get the previous 4K, I'd say this is worth it. And then the movie, I really dig Cloverfield.
I love Cloverfield.
Yeah,
I unapologetically.
No, it's great.
I don't know what the discourse on Cloverfield is like now in 2023, but I love that movie.
Every time I watch it again, I'm like, this movie totally works. And so I actually just interviewed Matt Reeves. That'll be up either tomorrow or my Monday or Tuesday at fandom.com. But I did an interview with him for the 15th anniversary of Cloverfield and this new 4K release. And I think that movie, it still feels like fresh. Like the whole idea of taking the found footage approach, which at the time was like super hot and a lot of movies were doing it, but they were always like small scale, and applying it to something huge like a Godzilla-esque monster movie, but only from the perspective of the people that usually would be like in the background, is still really effective. It's really cool how they do that. It's like, I don't think you could do it a million times, but there is a part of me, if I had more time with them, I only had 7 minutes with them. So you're like, blowing through, it's like
7 minutes of heaven.
7 minutes of heaven with Matt Reeves. But I did want to ask him, it's like, I know Chronicle exists, obviously, and I like Chronicle, but I'm like, wouldn't it be interesting if like a actual movie with like DC or Marvel heroes like did something like that approach, like the Cloverfield approach?
Like it wasn't an original like for the screen IP. Yeah, exactly.
That was purposely smaller scale. It almost reminds me of the comic book Marvels, which was like about like people on the street when things are happening around them, and a photographer was the main character. Now you can just make it a guy with an iPhone. It writes itself, Matt. Anyway, back to Cloverfield. It's great. And this new 4K was great, even though the extras are all old. They're still really good ones, and I watched them all and learned a lot of things about the movie I didn't know, and that was really cool. Anyway,
that was just Eric's physical media corner. That wasn't even his good thing to enjoy. So
which is also physical media, though. My actual good thing to enjoy, I'm holding it up so I can glance at some of the people on it, is a box set. I tweeted about this a couple weeks ago, but I've been listening to the hell out of it ever since I got it, which is the Life Moves Pretty Fast, the John Hughes Mixtapes is the name of this box set, which is available on both vinyl and CD. I know, Although vinyl is more likely the thing that people have in 2023 because it's made
Honestly,
a big comeback.
yeah, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I bought the vinyl version. I have a small vinyl collection, but it's mostly soundtracks. But I've been kind of really digging that when I work.
Well, that's like when I first met you in middle school. All of your cassettes were mixed or soundtracks.
Yeah, so now I'm going back to the old days, Matt. Except it's vinyl.
I was really like, "Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite art? Who's your favorite band?" And you're like, "Garbage Pail Kids."
Exactly, the movie.
The movie, yeah.
But yeah, I didn't know this. This came out a few months ago, but I didn't know it existed until someone tweeted about it. And then I promptly went to Amoeba, cool record stop we have here. It's from the Bay Area, where it is as well.
Why do they think they'd closed?
They moved. They closed early in the
right.
pandemic. They were already going to move, and then because of the pandemic, it happened earlier, but they've opened at their new location.
Okay.
Anyway, and they had a copy, and it's expensive. It's like $175 disc set. I got it for half off, but not really because I sold a bunch of Blu-rays to get that half off. I just used a bunch of credit towards it. It's also on CD though, which is funny. Like I looked it up, and it's like there's a 4 CD version, and then there is a 2 album version, which is much cheaper. Like it's like a best of this box set. Anyway, I love this box set. Both because of the nostalgia, which of course it's heavy with. It's like you're hearing these songs like Don't You Forget About Me, and Weird Science, and these songs that are like just so much a part of these movies. But even the movies I haven't seen in a long time, it's like these are just good songs because John Hughes, the whole thing of John Hughes is he was very music oriented. There's interesting liner notes where they talk to everyone who worked with him on his soundtracks about all this stuff. And he was like really into like British stuff and more obscure stuff, and he didn't want anyone mainstream, and he would turn down Fleetwood Mac because like they're too mainstream. But yeah, lots of good music, and some of it I didn't remember was in these movies. And it's like there's a Love and Rocket song that I love that's in the movie The Guest, but it's on here too. He had that long before them, and I think the funniest thing about this, I was telling Matt this the other day, it's like there'll be these like cool, very like alternative 80s music. And then I'll look because it lists which movie they're all from, and it's like that's from Uncle Buck, or like that's from She's Having a Baby.
Yeah.
It's like he was putting this stuff like that even on his movies that were always pretty mainstream.
They're like, you see that Sisters of Mercy song on Baby's Day Out, it's
right. Doesn't go into the 90s, so no Home Alone, no.
Do you remember in 7th grade, Eric, my jeans that I had drawn all over Love and Rockets lyrics?
As you're saying this, it's coming back to me.
With through several classes, I would just write and I would draw pictures on my jeans and write song lyrics and stuff like that.
I vaguely remember walking with you and we were singing "So Alive."
God, that would have been like 89, right? Like,
yeah.
Man, Peter, I discovered Peter Murphy did sessions with Nine Inch Nails with Trent Reznor in the aughts and did a bunch of songs with them. And he sings Reptile, a great Nine Inch Nails song. And as the second half of that song, he starts singing Haunted When the Minutes Drag, which blew my fucking mind because that is not a Bauhaus song. So for those who don't know, Bauhaus is a band. When they split up and the singer just went solo with Peter Murphy and the remaining trio became Love and Rockets. So Love and Rockets comes from a band. It was also my favorite band. I have a tattoo of them called Bauhaus. And so he was singing a Love and Rockets song, Eric, and it was blowing my fucking mind. They were singing that song. Anyway.
This collection is great because it's almost all from his 80s teen movies, his iconic teen movies that he either directed or produced, like, and wrote, like Some Kind of Wonderful and Pretty in Pink, because he still was heavily involved in the soundtracks of the movies. But they sprinkle in a couple other things. So there's like 1 or 2 from like The Great Outdoors. And then they have, I was very happy, Matt, they have Holiday Road.
The Lindsey Buckingham. Yeah. Amazing song. Yeah.
Obviously he did not direct Vacation. He didn't even produce it. He would have been like much more less powerful at the point Vacation was made, but still just to represent obviously a very iconic song from his first kind of hit.
Well, I mean, like, so, I guess he didn't want the entire Fleetwood Mac, but he would take Lindsay.
No, I'm saying he had no Harold Ramis.
I know, that was Harold Ramis.
That was a Harold Ramis pick. was there.
Actually, I'm saying to include on this, but he's dead, so he's not including any of this stuff. I'm assuming his estate is, if they're using...
Yeah, his son is heavily involved.
Right.
He had a record label, this is put out by his right. They talked about, like, he was so into music that he started a record record label while he was, directing. And the album cover, which Matt can see, but you can't. But you can see it online, is his actual cassettes, and there's more pictures inside of like the cassettes. He was always of like what should be in the next movie, and Oingo Boingo made the cover. That made me happy. A cassette with written the name Oingo Boingo on it.
Well, I'm just saying that like they did a full themes. They're not just a song in a movie. They did a theme song.
No, they did a theme song, and it was the second time he used a Boingo song. There was one in 16 Candles, and by the way, for completists, this is not every song from his movies because that would be like 15 discs, cost hundreds of dollars, and also would never happen because you're not getting the Beatles Twist and Shout. You're not getting, there's just some bands you're not going to get the rights for, even smaller bands where they said it was just too confusing who could sign off on some of them. But it's a lot. It's 74 tracks. It's a shitload of good music. Anyway, listening to it a lot. It's really good. But you have to have a record player or a CD player to listen to it. But if you do,
I have one of those, a record player. I also have Spotify, Eric.
I also
have Spotify.
Right.
So that the artists I love get no money whatsoever. That's the way I like it. Unsupported by me, who's entitled to their music for basically free.
Sure,
okay.
Sure.
Well, it's like I have that like so Ladytron, a favorite band of mine. They have an album coming out in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks at this point, and I'm like, how do I support them?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I'm going to listen to the shit out of this album on Spotify, but I guess I'm going to try to get the vinyl. Mm-hmm. CD does me no good now.
Sure. No. I have a CD player in my car, but I mean, yeah.
Even those are like, but even that feels antiquated.
The only time I've used that CD player in the past like 2 years is when I bought why am I blanking on the name of it now? The David Byrne directed movie starring John Goodman.
Stop making sense.
No, that's the concert.
Real people.
True Stories.
True Stories.
I bought the Criterion Collection True Stories Blu-ray, and it came with a CD.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, I listened to that in my car. So there you go. There's no other way for me to listen.
There we go. All right. I'll keep this one quick because most people listening will know this show is coming and kind of also maybe know what it's about. And Eric and I have both seen. You've seen the first 4, right? Anything more? Okay, I have also seen.
I would have liked to have seen more, like some people did.
Like some people I know. I was talking to. I was DMing with, and like, yeah. But yeah, The Last of Us starts this weekend. The hotly anticipated live action adaptation of Naughty Dog's 2013 game with, we assume. Hold on, I'm gonna cough. Intentions of telling the full story through the first game and then into the second game as far as seasons go. But it is excellent. The Last of Us is so great. And basically I want to open this up more to talk to you about you playing the game, because we talked about this years ago.
That only one of us completed our task.
That's fine. I don't care. You did what I wanted you to do. I just didn't do what you wanted me to do.
Dear listeners, you might recall a few months ago we talked about how Matt had never read The Sandman. I had never played The Last of Us, and how Matt would try to read The Sandman, or at least some of it, before the show premieres, and I would try to play The Last of Us before that show premieres.
I still love Sandman.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Fortunately, both of these shows that are coming our way are great. So
yeah,
the end result, whether or not we actually follow through on our word or not, is that we get good TV shows in the aftermath. Eric, The Last of Us was known in its day, so this would have been like 10 years ago, for having really emotional cinematics and a really emotional story. This story doesn't break the mold zombie-wise, surrogate family-wise, because there's a whole subgenre now of like surrogate fathers and daughters carrying people across the wasteland, like found family, that type of, like, even The Mandalorian is like that, which people say is funny because it's Pedro Pascal again.
Yes.
It's a tried and true story to watch, basically an old man warm up to something, usually a child, sometimes an animal, right? Like, it's just like something that you'd like to see. And whether that's because you come from a broken home and want that for yourself, or because you come from a loving family and it reminds you of that.
Yeah.
It is something that is really effective. So The Last of Us really, really played into that well with some great voice acting, a great story that is set in a zombie apocalypse with a little twist on zombies being like fungus people. And it's the story of these two in a sort of a cross-country trek in search of a cure. And the game was really emotional, and it was also known for its sort of like some of its more haunting, harrowing moments. And it sort of broke the mold as far as like playing a character where you are forced to do the actions of that character when even the actions may not be the right actions. And like you're not making a choice at some point. You have to do them for the story to move forward. And that was also sort of groundbreaking, where it's like you have to do something pretty awful or else or stop playing the game, really.
But we should say, with it being clear that the creators of the game knew it was awful, not from, because there's plenty of games where you could say, what's the morality of this game? You're just mowing people down. But this game was with a lot of morality, but a consciousness about like sometimes these characters are going to do things that aren't great, you know?
And you understand them. And we were talking about this earlier with Ant-Man, where it's like, as long as you understand the character well enough that this tracks, you still go along with it, even if it makes you want to like kind of barf. You know what I mean? Like even if it makes you sort of ill or want to feel your soul feel sooty afterwards. So anyway, The Last of Us TV show looks great, feels great. Even if they just did faithful recreations of most of the cut scenes from the game, it still would be a great show because those are so great. But it adds to things. Obviously, it kind of has to for 9 episodes to pan out. It sort of expands upon the worlds in ways that you may not expect, and characters that are in the game that you may not expect to know more about. And those are some of the best things that you and I, Eric, have seen so far.
Yep. And
it also offers some of the voice actors live action roles. Now, some play who they actually play in the game, like Marlene, and I can't remember the actress's name who plays Marlene, but some get to play new characters, which I think is kind of interesting, where if you voice and mocap a character in a video game and then come into it live action wise as a different character, I think it's kind of fun for an actor, I would imagine, like to see things through from a different angle. Anyway, what was your take on all this is me saying, Eric, what did you think of the game?
It was great. It was great. There's the lightest amount of like, you know, maybe it couldn't help be a little overhyped to me. I mean, it's been a decade of people saying it's the best game ever. I mean, I don't know if I thought it was Spider-Man great, Matt, but I thought it was great. Like, it's really good. And the thing about it is, and I see this both as a criticism, but not as a criticism, is, you know, a lot of the story things that happen in it, inevitably, we have seen in other, you know, stories, like, you know, like there are beats where it's like, I was definitely ahead of what was happening just because I've seen fiction that deals with this about, like, you know, people, you know, zombies and what you're trying to avoid. It's to the game's credit, though, it's all in the execution, that it was very well done, that it was always like, even if I was like, you know, could kind of guess what was going to happen story-wise, I still thought, I really care about these characters. And that's the thing people kept telling me about it, and it's just very true. It's just like, you're very invested in these two, to the point that, you know, cutscenes, which, you know, sometimes people are like, can I just skip through these cutscenes, which often you can. Like, most people will like name the cutscenes as like their favorite stuff from this game. You know, it's it's like the cutscenes are so like telling an actually compelling story about characters you really care about. So it's funny, I started playing in September. I stopped because you know, and I just, you know, as someone who doesn't play a lot of video games, I just get very like easy frustrations of like, I can't get out of this fucking alleyway. Like just like, how the hell there's no way out. There's no way out of this alleyway. And then I stopped playing for weeks or months. But I played almost all of it. Like I mean, in its entirety, I played most of that game over New Year's weekend. And it's great. It was really cool. There's some really creepy and scary moments, like some of the actual like gameplay. I was like, oh, this is freaky. This is actually scaring me. And I do not like these creatures. Yeah, it's really, really good.
Yeah, and you're gonna have a bad time. Those clickers are no fun.
No fun clickers.
I would say, no, exactly. Like what I was saying, like there's certain elements here that don't break the mold narrative wise.
Yeah.
Except in the, I don't know, everything is everything. So it's in the execution of it. You could say you've seen a lot of this stuff before in other stories, but I am very nervous, and and I feel like you might relate to this when you get very precious about something you love and you want to share it with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
To overhype part 2 for you, because I love it so dearly, and I don't want you to feel overhyped about it. It is. I do feel like, though, part 2, one of the things it does, and I want to think I was spoiled from this, is that it very much strays from the traditional narrative elements that you've felt in the first game.
Like 2, and I do want to, finish quickly, kind of talk a little bit more about the show, and then get to Rocky 2. But I will just say that 2, I'm plot wise, I'm very spoiled on. It was just inevitable with the Discord.
That makes me upset.
2 is very divisive, and I knew that because I knew it made some dudes really mad, and it's always dudes.
Yep.
It made some guys really mad.
By the way, the show is going to make some dudes really mad too.
Yeah,
so.
and to the point that I couldn't avoid spoilers because there was so much people debating about that, and then I just knew on the surface that some of the things they were mad about, I would not be mad about, and certainly not just by it happening. Anyway, that being said, I'm still very excited to play 2, and I don't think it'll take me a decade since the game. It'll be soonish. Anyway, the show, I agree with you. It's great. It's really well done, and I really like the added stuff. There's a little bit. It's the way they use, because someone was saying to me, how does this show set itself apart from The Walking Dead? Like, how does it feel different? And I was like, well, of course, there's going to be the same. There's going to be a sameness on some level. It's impossible not to. But one thing that makes this different is that it's been 20 years. That this is a world that's been living with this for 20 years. So there's just a difference as far as they have very much adjusted to life under this, the terrible life under this. But there's this heavy use of flashbacks, mostly to show stuff we never saw in the game, characters we never saw in the game, that's really well done. It reminded me a little bit of Lost, which is funny because in Lost, it was a 1-to-1. It was like, this episode is focused on this character, so we're going to see flashbacks. This is very different because sometimes the flashbacks is about a character we might never see again. It's just here's a story from the early days.
And
it's really well done.
A big time Alan Sepinwall, in his review of the show, likened a lot of those moments, and you bring up Lost, but he likened them to a show I really want you to watch, which is Station 11.
Yeah, I keep wanting to watch Station 11.
Which I totally agree with as far as what the feel of those moments, because that show is also about the world ending again. So, but yeah, I totally agree with him when he said that as well. And also that in itself is a Leftovers vibe, because that's what Station 11 reminds me the most of. And it all goes back to Leftovers in the end. Man, I'm still just sitting here stewing that you got spoiled. I understand the jobs that we have. You're going to get spoiled.
The jobs and just following who I follow on Twitter and the discourse and yeah.
Man, now it won't be your favorite game of all time. Whatever.
It'll have to be the 4th favorite game of all time.
I can't live with that. I can't live with that. Okay. So, all right. Last of Us, Pedro Pascal. Oh, let's just mention Pedro Pascal is great. Bella Ramsey.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
She's excellent.
Absolutely excellent as Ellie. And
people just have to, I guess some people will not. She doesn't look exactly like Ellie in the game. Well, Ellie in the game is a fucking video game. It's fine. And yeah, they're both great. Their dynamic is great. And yeah, she obviously she kind of stole the show in, only a handful of episodes of Game of Thrones.
Well, so did Pedro Pascal and only a handful of episodes.
We've just seen him in more since. But yeah, they're great, and I definitely think they embody these characters because I'm not looking for it to be exactly looking and sounding like the game.
And it shouldn't. No one should look for that.
And it shouldn't. Yeah.
All right. You know what you should look for? Rocky 2. Electric Tiger Boogaloo. We're going to talk about that right now. Guess what's next week, everyone? Rocky 3.
Rocky 3, the first one I saw in the theater.
Also,
actually, the first one I saw. I shouldn't just say in the theater. We'll talk about that next week. But yeah.
Okay. Rocky 2. 3 years later.
3 years later,
1979.
So it picks up right after. Also, I want to say as we start this is the Rocky movie I'm almost certain I've seen the least, which is funny. Because I saw 3 on in the theater, Even 5, which we can say is
Wow.
most people's least favorite. I think I saw like 3 times in the theater because I worked at a movie theater and I just like see things. That's that Rocky 3 was too early for me working there, but I just see things. But Rocky 2, because the original's the original, and I of course watched it and now I've seen it several times. But 2, I would just see in pieces on TV because it was also on TV all the time. But as far as watching Rocky 2 start to finish, this might be my third time versus where all the others I've seen at least, I think, 4 or 5.
I'm the same way. Aside from the ones I've never seen, this is the one I've seen the least. And I'm gonna ask you first because what is your overall opinion of Rocky 2, the big follow-up to the Oscar-winning Rocky?
My overall opinion is it works ultimately. Like, look, we're about to talk about, a shitload of these movies. Does the very existence of a single sequel, much less a shitload of sequels, kind of diminish the first movie? Well, it doesn't diminish the first movie standing on its own. The first movie is the first movie. But has a story, does it kind of, diminish it? Yeah, it does, because it's like just the fact that the way the first one ends, it feels like he will never have this kind of fight again. He doesn't need to have this kind of fight again. And that story's over, but that's not how Hollywood works. That being said, I do think this movie ultimately works, even though there's things that are weird about it. And you already alluded to something we'll be talking about with Rocky as a character's movie. But then I'm like, shit, the final fight works. The final fight on its own terms in the context of a sequel that didn't need to exist. And a series we're about to talk about keeps on going. And maybe inevitably, but also maybe for its betterment, if it's going to keep going, gets into kind of goofier, crazier places. But yeah, the final fight works. That all like plays really well. So I think it's a solid sequel ultimately, even though it's obviously a much weaker movie than the first, and it can't help but feel like diminished returns, especially because tonally, unlike the next couple, it's trying to hold on to the first one a little more, but still feels a little weird. Did you feel like this way, Matt? This movie was made 3 years later, like you mentioned. So the first one was made in 75, came out in 76. This made in 78, came out in 79. This movie, even though it's not like draped in it, the fact this was made in the late 70s is very obvious. Once in a while, with like the powder blue suit Rocky's wearing,
it feels different.
The shaggy hair, like there's just
Stallone actually directed this.
Yeah,
he wrote and then also directed. And why don't I like Rocky now? That's my question for you. I'm fully in his corner in that first movie, fully rooting for him and Adrian. I get that, the fight feels secondary to his love story with Adrian. And this movie, he feels insufferable. And I feel like, so obviously a big cinematic joke, as always has been for a couple decades now, Spider-Man 3. I don't even care about the emo Spider-Man stuff. I don't care about that, most of the rickety stuff of that movie. What bugged me the most about Spider-Man 3 is that it took Peter Parker, who you really liked and rooted for in the first 2 movies, and made him into a complete bozo. Like I didn't like him in that movie. So you take the main character who you like, and you make him into a tool. And Rocky felt absolutely like a horrendous bozo in this movie compared to the first movie. And I don't know what it was necessarily about it. If it was Stallone leaning a little too much into the, like his persona that he sort of gotten saddled with as a parody in his whole career. The choices Rocky was making, like he was just being really like, did we really want to follow up Rocky with a movie where Rocky after this makes a ton of dumb decisions and then manages to fail up into the championship, like
once again owing his everything to Apollo, because Apollo is the one who insists on this fight.
Exactly. And like and his superpower of just being able to get back up and you know what I mean? Like he doesn't, I don't know. He felt like a much more bizarrely inert character in this film and not as likable. Like I didn't want, you said the fight at the end works. I get that. I feel like it wasn't as good as the first movie fight as far as directing, as far as like the music use and that type of stuff. I didn't want Rocky to win this fight. Like I didn't want him to, again, I could have, like, I didn't want him to win the championship at the end. I didn't feel like he deserved it.
I was on him. I was in his corner. I totally agree with what you say. Like, I get what you say. There is a lot more, like, I do think it does that. It's a sequel problem of like leaning into things people like about something to a degree that makes it not work or feel like they're pushing too hard. So like the lovable lunkhead thing, like they go so far with it here.
God. Why did I want him to shut up so badly in this movie? The first movie, I didn't have a problem with how much he talked. This movie, I was like, shut the fuck up. Like,
but I will say it's not 100%. There are still some. I think Rocky does himself have some very good moments in this movie that I think are more reminiscent of the first, but it's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of stuff where you're like, come on, man. And yeah, the first 45 minutes are basically him just trying to adjust to his life now. He's a retired boxer. And yeah, like just making dumb, there's a little bit of the like, he's spending money he shouldn't spend. And it's funny because it's not like the full plot line because he's spending money he shouldn't spend, but also he doesn't have a job, which makes it really stupid. But
that's the thing.
They never seem in danger of like losing the house or anything. It's
but
just
they
like,
also never furnish the house.
Yeah.
It's empty. I don't understand. Like there's like one chair and I don't think there's a table for the TV. I don't know.
It's like when you and I had our first apartment, Matt.
Exactly. And you're like, hey, this beanbag chair is on the street. Except we didn't go 15 rounds with Apollo Creed. So it's a thing where the first movie felt like sweet dorks. Again, remember I was saying like it's a story of two fucking nerds out there who nobody gives a chance and they fill it gaps, like he said. I thought that was a great line. And this movie, it just felt like he thinks he's good for an office job. He can't read. Like he's gonna go. He's like, hey, I want to do what you do and sit in a chair. Like he's what does he think they do? He feels so dense in this movie that like I hate to find it comical, but like the reading thing is funny. Like it's terrible, but like I don't know. I don't know why he thinks he can do things just because he wants to in this movie. Maybe because things just work out for him. Maybe he's spoiled in that way. I don't know. And then Paulie is terrible. I don't know if he's worse than he is in the first movie.
I think he's worse than the first movie.
I'm saying he's not.
At least he acts concerned for his comatose sister in this one.
He does go to bring her flowers or something, but then he sees Rocky in there and like dumps them. I don't know. He does say, I'm enough of this watching stuff, and he leaves the hospital room like he can't sit there. And he becomes like a wise guy. So basically, they switch roles because Rocky starts pushing meat. He starts being working for the bookie.
And viciously breaking people's thumbs,
like with glee, even when he's not asked to. He's out there. I don't know. Again, he's still a lot because they're like, "What should I name my son?" He's like, "How about Paulie?" Like, all right.
Burt Young lost weight, so they write it in.
I also love the fact that when they get married, they only know the cast from the first movie. It's like, Tony, hey, Tony it's Gloria from guy. The pet shop, and it's Mr. Gazzo.
Like, doesn't some people from the bar want to come? Come on.
What about the Frank Sinatra Trash Fire singer? Frank Stallone.
Frank Stallone.
Where's the barbershop quartet over the dumpster fire? So anyway, okay. Like a lot of movies did, we've talked about this. We talked about Friday the 13th movies and stuff like that. Because there was no rewatchability. When there's a sequel, sometimes you gotta literally replay the ending of the movie that came
previously on that goes for almost 6 minutes.
6 minutes of this movie is the final fight of that last movie, including the end and the Yo Adrian and
freeze frame,
all that stuff. So 6 minutes of the movie reminding you of taking you back.
Yes,
but I do the better fight. Yeah.
Yes, but then I do like the cut to the ambulances taking the Apollo and Rocky to the hospital.
I wish it had played the theme to Taxi when it was doing that. Yeah, so then it opens with the big Rocky music and the titles again, this time in yellow like his robe.
Mm-hmm.
And then then the actual credits roll during the ambulance going to the hospital. And then it's very much like the same night, right? Like
Yeah.
it's picking things up right after the last movie ended, much like a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got Apollo there immediately demanding a rematch too.
While they're
You
both
got
in
lucky.
wheelchairs.
Yeah, they're both in wheelchairs. So we should also bring up the fact that this movie sort of starts the idea, which will become way more important later in the franchise, of revenge boxing.
Right.
Which is like, I got a grudge, so we're going to meet in a highly publicized actual boxing match. So there's a wrestling element here.
Mm-hmm.
Because even later on, someone's like, this is going to make you the bad guy in a big wrestling angle, which is what Apollo is running on Rocky in real life, though. But this is something you and I would watch on a professional wrestling television, like Monday Night Raw, where somebody is goading someone out of retirement. Like we've seen that before.
Yes. But I do like another thing they bring at the beginning is like, when Rocky's going to get operated on, and with the doctor saying we can fix the nose, it's the eye that concerns me. Is like he got fucked up, like Apollo has fucked him up, especially the eye, which is like an ongoing thing in the movie about like, can he protect this?
I thought it was interesting. I liked when Mickey is like showing him how little peripheral vision he has out of that eye. I also like the gimmick of training to be a right-handed boxer. I thought that was cool too. It is a cheap trick though. Like he wins, like he fights back with a cheap trick, even though he says in the final fight, he's like, I don't want to switch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to do a cheap trick. And then he does it anyway.
But
that is a textbook pulling the trick play out that is established earlier in the movie to throw Apollo off his game. But yeah, so he's messed up. He's still sad about his nose being broken for the first time. And
I also like when he goes to see Apollo in his room and asks him, did he give me your best? And Apollo says he did. And he says, thank you. Because, again, what we see in these first 45 minutes is like, if Apollo hadn't goaded him back, he would have been a retired boxer working for Mickey at the gym. Maybe he would have become a trainer himself eventually, Right.
And so, yeah, Apollo brought this on himself, I suppose. Yeah. But you know what Apollo did that he shouldn't have done? He read the comments.
He did.
He went to Reddit and he saw what people were saying about him.
I do like that it's a mix because it's both, you're a chump for letting this guy get that close, or you actually lost, but there's also the people that say this was a fix and he that was all fake. You let some loser look like he could go the distance. They both piss him off.
By the way, they both have the tried and true that still exists to this day.
Yeah.
Kill yourself.
Right.
This was the internet 40 years before the internet. So, all right.
This movie has a lot more of Mickey and Apollo. Like, there's more scenes with Mickey and Apollo. We just kind of get more of him as a character in this movie. His wife, and just like, he gets a little more dimensionalized because he's not so flippant the whole movie. And
too many scenes with Paulie, though. I gotta say, Paulie is absolutely terrible. All right. Okay. So he finally talks to Gazzo. Paulie gets his job. He's hitting him up on the hospital bed, Eric. Well, he's like, his face is all mangled. He's like, hey, you think you could talk to Mr. Gazzo now?
Right.
He is an absolute nefarious motherfucker, Paulie. I can't take it. So yeah, he signs an autograph for a nurse. It's probably going to be worth a lot. Then on the way out of the hospital,
funny, he says that's his first autograph. Didn't those two girls, I know those two girls wanted his autograph in the first
No. Mickey chased him out.
No, I know. So are we to assume that Mickey did that like over and over again? It just seems like at some point he would have signed an autograph while he was training. But
possibly.
Mickey was just like, no, like anywhere he was, Mickey would pop out and be like, no.
Get out of here, kid.
Right.
We had the fucking melted guy from RoboCop in a full body cast outside getting signed by Rocky as he exits. And then this is what you were kind of talking about of like trying to like recreate or tap into some of the energy from the first movie, which is like it at one point. So it kind of almost went without saying in that first movie that he valued Adrian more than anything because he didn't feel like that title shot was real.
Right.
Like that whole thing was so surreal to him. He even refused it at first.
Yeah.
This movie, his love and adoration for Adrian gets a little high-handed, which is like, hey, sign these endorsement deals and get a lot of money. I got something more important to do. You know what I'm saying? Like my girl comes, I got to take her to the snow zoo. Like where he tries to recreate some weird, like offbeat date like they had in the first movie, which felt more organic and fun. This is like, I've always liked snow at the zoo. Okay, this is the first we're hearing of it, Rocky.
But he did tell Mr. Tiger he's going to send him an invitation to the wedding.
Guess who wasn't at the wedding, Eric? The Tiger.
Mr. Tiger kindly declined.
Mr. Tiger, RSVP's negatory. Oh, he got ditched by the snow tiger. He's like, I'll get that tiger's eye. And then in the next movie, he's got the eye of the tiger, Eric.
Again, this movie has a lot of back and forth for me. So it's like, yeah, it goes on coming on too strong with a lot of it. But then like there's stuff that is a little more low key that I do like, has like even with Adrian, as far as like I do like that on his way to the fight at the end, he goes to the priest and says, you know, say a prayer so I don't get hurt too bad because he's got a wife and kid. Like it's like, you know, it's like,
you know what I wrote right there? I said he's such a dumb baby. That's the note I wrote. But he's like,
I liked that.
Hey, Father Coma. Hey, it's me, Rocky Balboa. I'm like, oh my God. He's getting stupider. Like,
I mean, well, did you see how much he got hit by a ball?
I was gonna say, if they actually are chalking this whole thing up to the brain damage, hey, I don't know if you could talk to the big man upstairs for me, but maybe maybe I don't get hit in my eye so much.
But but there is definitely some parts that were like very eye rolling. Like here in my notes when Tony the mobster is trying to get him to invest in condominiums.
Oh God,
condominiums! I never use them.
Well, he's right on both accounts, but we know what he means. He doesn't use condominiums either. But Eric, wife coma lasts so long. Wife coma takes up so much of this movie, and it doesn't mean anything, right? Like because we and Rocky are just waiting for Adrian to come out of the coma,
right?
And she will. Like we never think she's not going to come out of the coma.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't the end of the movie, so we're waiting for it forever. And then when she comes out of the coma, she's like, she sort of miraculously has a change of heart. Is like, yeah, go beat him, like
right.
Because the last thing that happened before she gave birth. Was Paulie came and fucking smacked pet feed out of her hand and yelled at her.
Yeah.
Then I don't know. It was so long. It felt so long. And it's just like reading to her.
Well, it's a very oddly structured movie because it's like 45 minutes of like him trying to make it. What will his life be when he's not a boxer? Then he's training for a little bit. Then there's the coma stuff.
Well, the funny thing is, so I get that. Okay, I get there's going to be friction between him and Adrian over a decision going to go back and face Apollo again.
Yeah,
I feel like the movie didn't figure out how to work that, so they put her in a coma and had her wake up and have a change of heart for no reason.
Right.
Like instead of actually coming up with a different, less cliche way of sidelining her or changing her mind. Like they could have come out through dialogue. It could have come out of a situation. It could have come out of a lot of different ways instead of gently fridging your wife for like 10 minutes.
She slept on it in a coma and she thought more of it. She decided, you know what?
I had a dream, Rocky. I had a dream that I didn't have to work in a pet shop while pregnant and lift things so that I went into early labor.
Again, there are more things here I liked along the way. Like when he films the commercial and they're making him first the caveman, then he's himself all beat up. And like, I do like when the guy says that, we want to make a Rocky doll. It takes a terrific beating, and like just the idea that that's what the selling point of the doll would be. It's like you could beat the shit.
Well, he's
out
not
of it.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was up with that makeup they put on when he had to be a boxer and it was supposed to be his beat up face?
Yeah.
But it looked nightmarish. Okay, so he proposes to Adrian at the zoo with the tiger. He says, "Tiger, you're invited to the wedding." And the tiger's
Mr.
like,
Tiger.
It's like Mr. Tiger, and Mr. Tiger's like, "Fuck you, Rocky." He's like, "I'm cold." It's like, if you're cold,
I'm Team Apollo.
if you're cold, I'm cold. Bring me inside. And then, but yeah, so I guess this movie also establishes tigers as a theme because he goes and gets a tiger jacket.
Yeah,
he goes and gets a fancy bracelet. Butkus gets a gift. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they get matching collar and bracelet. Yeah.
I'm still dreaming about buying a townhome for $16,000 with 9.5% interest rate.
Yeah, although it is, I did put in inflation calculator would be 45,000 a year in taxes. When he asked how much.
I'll say this.
Yeah.
I think that was when his talking started getting to me, because even she says stop talking so much during this when he's like trying to sell her on this place.
Oh, when she's saying like, that you're making this too easy for the realtor.
Yeah, but she also says you don't have to speak. But he like walks in and immediately in the living, he's like, I could put a punching bag right there. Yeah. In my head, I'm like, right there? That's terrible. Like, put a punching bag in the fucking foyer living room? Yeah. Right when you walk in, you just start punching. And he's like, Mrs. Balboa, can I show you the kitchen? Look, I get it, different time. Because even Rocky at one point is like, can you start dinner? I'm a little hungry when he's all sad in the basement because he's an out of work meat man.
Mm-hmm.
So much of this movie shows us working in a meat factory too. Like,
yeah, there's a meat factory montage.
He's wearing his
meat
hat.
Plant montage.
He's wearing his hat while he's shoveling up the gross offal, like.
Oh, the guy who plays his boss at the meat factory, I was like, it's that guy.
Oh, it's Frank McRae.
Yeah, who, if 80s and 90s, Red Dawn, Batteries Not Included, Loaded Weapon 1, Last Action Hero, The Wizard, he was that guy. He was a friendly face in many a movie.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Made me laugh, because they established Rocky as a bad driver. And then there's a part where he comes home, and it made me laugh because it felt like a Frank Drebin where he crashes into the crash cans. Yeah.
Which is, it's just so funny because it's like I get that driving isn't like people have to learn to drive, obviously, but you don't know how to use the brake. Like, you can't stop a car. Like, you just keep going until the natural landscape stops you. Anyway, that's what was funny about Drebin. Rocky, I don't know. Okay, so yeah, so there's a large chunk of this movie. We see Apollo is getting hate mail, but we're really watching Rocky and Adrian. Rocky's on a spending spree, blowing all the money because he wants to have nice things, thinking he can line up something, even though he can't read. He can't be charismatic in front of the camera.
I think we're supposed to think he's very bad at reading. He can read, but not.
But really, also, he's a bad promo.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Like, so he thinks he can be in commercials, and like, let's just say he memorized the lines, which he should have because he knows he's a bad reader. He's still not going to deliver them in a great way.
Right.
Because he's the dichotomy here is Rocky's very genial and chatterbox in person, but when the cameras turn on,
he's a bad actor.
He's not charismatic at all, like Apollo. So he has all these ideas of things that are going to work out for him, and he shouldn't think that because none of them have anything to do with what he can do. Right? Again, he can't have an office job. Why would he think that? Mm-hmm. Every time they're telling him no, they are perfectly within the right to do so. Like, why? You have no qualifications. There's nothing you can offer.
I mean, at least the guy who turns him down seems pretty friendly about it.
Oh, no one's mean to him.
No.
The only one who's mean to him for 2 movies straight is Paulie.
Right.
Like, why the fuck is he here? Get out of here, Paulie. All right. So yeah, let's see.
Well, then it's like
and he's playing stickball. Oh, okay. She gets pregnant.
Gets pregnant.
I don't know if we're supposed to think they were having sex in that first movie. Paulie asks, and obviously Rocky's not going to answer one way or the other.
Yeah,
but
I
it
thought
sure
they were.
felt. I did too, until this movie made it feel like they were saving things for their wedding night.
Oh,
especially since it's only like 2 weeks later or so that she's pregnant.
I mean, this movie's on a
he doesn't use condominiums.
He doesn't use condominiums. Moving on a very quick timeline because this is Thanksgiving 76. It's like 11 months after the first fight. It feels like they could have stretched out a little bit more just because it's like that has to account for time in the hospital, time looking for a job, time at the meat plant, laid off in the meat plant. She's getting, they get married, pregnant. It just seems like maybe it should have been like a year and a half or something.
I agree. I do feel like I heard someone at some point say he's been doing nothing for 6 months, which is an even, shorter window of time.
Right. The only thing we have to go by are the two fights, but either way, it just seems too much is happening between those two fights. Yeah.
When is the second fight? Is the second fight Thanksgiving, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a year later.
Yeah, 11 months, yeah.
Okay. So maybe after, we don't know how long the training went. We don't even know how long Adrian was in a coma.
Right.
I'll tell you this, it felt like it was 17 years, but like
this is not
it could have been 3 days. I don't know how long she was out.
This did not drag to me as much as it did for you.
Oh my god. I think it dragged even more because he would not go see his newborn son.
Right.
I was like, that is absolutely stupid.
I mean, what if she died, man? You gotta go see.
He's like, I can't ever see you. We were supposed to see you together. So,
right.
I'm giving you to Paulie. I'm like, no.
I'm gonna mix in.
He's like, I'm Paulie Jr. now.
I'll mix in occasional compliments or half compliments here more than you will, Matt.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he gets fired. He gets laid off because they're doing cutbacks, and because he's the most recent hired guy. Frank McRae is not mean about it, but he has to let him go. And that's when, of course, he turns to like, maybe I should fight again. And she's warning him that the doctor says you can go blind. I will say, I thought it was a good Rocky moment as far as who the character is when she suggests that she could work again. And his response is very old fashioned, which is, I'm the one that's supposed to support. But I do like that the way it's played by Stallone is he's like disappointed in himself. He's not like, I'm the one. He's not angry at her. He's not like, this is, she's not like ashamed. It's just like, he's like an old fashioned guy. And he feels, although of course, we've addressed, he did it to himself. He still thinks like, I'm a disappointing person that, that you have to get a job because I have failed here.
Well, the thing is that it's not just that like his wife has to work, it's that she's also pregnant, I think is adding to this for him. But
yeah,
I don't know. I understand that like he got seriously hurt last time and that he could, do even further more permanent damage to his eye if he gets back in the ring. But man, the paid, again, how much the first time he's like, I just got to go the distance. And at no point in this movie, she says when she comes out of the coma.
Yeah.
But at no point was he even kind of like, I'm going after him. And this time I am going to win the title. Like he still feels very passive through it, even at that press conference where he.
Well, it is a plot point that Mickey feels like your heart's not in this time,
Yeah, but like, even when she says when, I still don't feel like, because he's even going to, Father Carmine. Hey, it's me, Rocky Balboa. I hope I don't get too hurt. It's not like I hope I win the championship.
Yeah,
It still feels like still an afterthought to him that I'm always like, just go and fight 3 rounds and collect your paycheck.
Right.
Like you'll still get so much more money, and obviously, there's no franchise after that, because he won't win the title. But I'm saying, like, from a character standpoint, Adrian could get behind him going and fighting and going down in the third. You know what I mean? Like, not going 15 rounds, but going down sort of like admirably. I'm saying that they should have just talked about it more before she went into a coma.
I mean, jumping ahead for a second, it's like I do think the final fight itself sells you on a Rocky who's going in kind of easygoing, but gets fired up as the fight continues. Like,
which is the opposite, which is what Apollo was in the first movie.
Right.
So, and then very famously, it turns into a last man standing match at the end of beats that Eric and I know well watching professional wrestling, as far as like two people trying to get to their feet for the 10 count to win. But yeah, man, I'm coming down on this movie because I think it's a bummer. And again, if listeners write in, that he came off as such a less likable character this time around than he did in the first movie. And I don't know I can't pinpoint it, if it's Stallone's performance or just the scenarios and situations and the decision making, or the combination of all of it, but I don't know.
I bet it's a combination. It's a combination. And I agree with everything you're saying overall. It just, I still think like a lot of it worked for me in the grand scheme of things, even though there's like a lot of little parts where I'm like, like that could have been done better. Like, and look, I like the Apollo stuff here. Still not called Duke yet. He's gonna get there, I promise.
He had some good moments. He had some good moments.
Yeah. Tony, which they make in later movies, they will eventually decide that his name is Tony Duke Evers. Duke is his nickname, and that's what they'll stick with, because he's still Apollo's trainer in the credits. I wonder if, because the actor's real name is Tony, if Carl Weathers just called him Tony on set.
And so, like, well, he's character,
because there's already a Tony. The monster's named Tony. So, but yeah, they have some good
that's
stuff.
Right, Mr. Gazer.
Yeah, they have some good stuff, and him telling him that, like, I saw you beat him like I've never seen anyone been beat, but he kept coming. We don't need that kind of man in your life. The two of them, have some good stuff together. And like you said, his Apollo's like, whatever gets him in the ring, I'll be the bad guy. I will, like, become a real life heel.
Yeah.
To call this guy out, which of course some of the locals are quick to fall for and make fun of Rocky.
Yeah. Well, he takes out full page ads in the paper and stuff like that. Cuts
Rocky,
promos on TVs, buys news time, like to call him out and call him a chicken.
This was established a little in the first one, when he was trying to hit on Adrian, but Rocky again tells, like, purposely, as in like they're written to be purposely very cheesy, punny jokes. He's similar to Ellie from The Last of Us in that regard. Matt, they'd get along telling bad jokes.
I don't like this comparison at all. Well, I think if Ellie went around going like, get it? It's funny. Get it? I think then I can see your comparison.
I forgot to mention when we because they were in the first
she
movie.
Is a greasy, fast Italian monster, though. So.
She is. Cuff and Link, the turtles, returned in this movie.
They do. Well, his apartment briefly returns for their wedding,
yes.
Their wedding consummation. But
I meant to mention this last week. Cuff and Link, Stallone, those were his real turtles, and they still are, because turtles live very long lives. At least as far as a couple of years ago, he posted an Instagram picture with Cuff and Link.
Oh,
yeah.
You know what's depressing, Eric? Cuff and Link will outlive you and me.
I know they will. Well, I don't think it's depressing. I think it's inspiring.
All right. I feel like let's talk about some of the training in this movie, along with training to be a right-handed fighter. Mickey was extra Mickey, and at this point, Rocky had to kind of go to him and ask for the favor in return that he gave him last movie. Please train me. He kept calling them greasy, fast, speed, Italian monster.
But I also like when Rocky says he'd hurt me bad, and he goes, no, he'd hurt you permanent.
Yeah, he's good. Like Burgess Meredith, it feels cartoonish, but somehow it fits in this movie because Rocky's also a walking sort of like heightened character cartoon. We got the Eat Lightning and Crap Thunder line again.
Yep.
And then in the post credits, Eric, my favorite part is when we see Rocky and his son with Stormbreaker as Crap and Thunder, fighting alien worlds and protecting.
Yeah, that was very
colonies.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was great. No, he's did the thing where it's like carrying a log and he's doing squats. He's doing one-armed pull-ups with his right arm, and he's chasing chickens.
He's chasing chickens, and
he's a chicken catcher. He catches
eventually. He's a chicken catcher, and this time we see Apollo training too. Although I'd like to touch that there's an artist painting him as he trains, because he's still Pompous Apollo. But this time we're seeing Apollo,
and there's no fanfare
and he's beating the shit out of these guys and saying, "Get me another one." These young guys that have to spar with him.
That's like a Bond villain, by the way. Also, that's a total Wilson Fisk move. Also, to be painted while you're killing people in the judo chamber.
But yeah, a lot more training here and a lot more Mickey working with him here.
And no business going to the all business when going to the ring, because he's not dressed up like in costumes and there's not like crazy music. So different Apollo, kind of way more lackadaisical Rocky, even though, he's given the go-ahead by Adrian. It's still a different Rocky coming to the ring. The run, so the recreation, I guess, of the famous Philadelphia run from the first movie, now it becomes like a Coke commercial almost, with like everyone on the street started following him and running along with him to the point where he's at the end. This movie is a lot more slow-mo, a lot more freeze frames, stylistically.
Yeah. But I was going to say, like, the kids running behind him, very easy to snark on. I also put in my notes, Matt, hurdling those benches, fuck yeah. And like when he's jumping over those benches and those kids run up behind him, and it's like every kid, it's like he hypnotized them and they just abandoned their families and all like followed him. But when they all up the stairs, I thought it was pretty great.
Couldn't he have just been a coach?
I know.
I'm just saying, like, he picks the dumbest jobs to try to do after he retires from a boxer. Right. I'm like, be an athletic coach. Show people how to fucking jump over a bench. Like, play to your strengths. Yeah. Which are not reading or speaking or sitting.
I did think it was sweet when he was reading to comatose Adrian, your favorite part of the movie.
Oh my
god. I thought I was the one in a coma.
He's reading, it was some Western. He was reading some Western novel.
Yeah.
Okay. While refusing to see his son. It's like, can I show you your son now? It's like, son, fucking no. I'm reading. Okay. All right. I think we kind of blew through the movie here, but the fight at the end.
Well, first I want to say before the fight, though, I think there's some cute. I think there's some fun interplay at the press conference, but also especially when they're going into when the fight is about to start. I like Rocky and Mickey talking about how nice his robe is. I think it's a cute little, like, in the middle of like this insane moment, they're taking this, like Mickey agreeing with him that this is a nice robe. I thought, and then of course they have got the commentators. I should mention Stu Nahan. I forgot to mention last week. Again, as someone who never watched sports, but Stu Nahan was one of those guys who transcended that because he kept appearing in movies. He's in a shitload of the Rocky movies. He's also in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Coley's dream about winning the surfing championship. So to me, he's just star of cinema. Stu Nahan. Returns
yeah, to our non-sports watching ass then. And that was Stallone's actual kid, no? As his little baby.
Oh, was that Sage? I'm not sure. He'll play his son in the fifth one, but it could be.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And I think the moment when he's naming his kid and they're like, what about his Rocky Jr.? It just sort of reminded me of The Wedding, where it's just like no one else exists in these people's lives outside of the 5 people that we already know from the movie, which is like, let's name him after your grandfather. Let's name him after your uncle. Or how about this guy? Nope. It's you're either going to name this guy Paulie or Rocky.
Right.
Because those are the only 2 characters that we know. And yeah, very famous double knock, not KO, but double knockdown finish that famed Rocky franchise fan Mick Foley, brings this up as far as like one of his finishes with The Rock, which is like when they both hit each other with a steel chair in the head and they fall down. He always called the Rocky 2 finish.
I want to talk about the finish.
And he even said, "Yo, Adrian, I did it," when he won the championship, if you remember that.
Oh, I do remember that. But I want to say more things about this fight because there's I thought this fight was really well done, and just again, like we talked about, like at the start of the fight, the fact that Apollo now is the one who's like all fired up, you're going down. Again, I liked this interplay here when he's Mickey saying "Don't let it bother you" and Rocky saying "When it bother you." I thought that was all fun. And that the fact that first of all, Rocky's saying during the fight to Mickey, "That guy's great." I thought that was great. Apollo. But then like the fact that we see Rocky start to get way more heated to the point that there's that part where Duke has to leap into the ring and they have to be pulled apart after the bell rang.
We really watched him get, and the whole point was like he's getting like twice the beating he got in that first movie.
Yeah,
he's getting his ass kicked, which also weirdly felt like unfun. I was like, oh, this is bizarre.
Well, this time Apollo in the first one, Apollo's like, oh, 3 rounds and it'll be done. This time Apollo, in a menacing way, is like 2 rounds. I'm taking him out in 2 rounds. Like, yeah, that and Mickey even says if you can get through the first round, you'll be okay. That the fear is that Apollo is just going to demolish him, which is what he tries to do. Yeah,
and he kind of does.
Yeah, but then you have
the switch play.
Rocky's Rocky's switch is when he yells, "I'm standing here." When he's suddenly not like joking around, he's he's screaming about it. And then to talk about the it's funny, because at what is right before the end when Apollo says you're going down and Rocky just says nah, no way. That's his like big retort, but I like that. And then like I said, this is the movie I've seen the least. But Matt, as we were talking about, we mentioned all the time that it's like movies like Rocky 1 and 2 would just be on TV constantly. So I know I saw, long before I saw Rocky 2 start to finish, I saw the final fight, or at least parts of it, on TV. And as a little kid, I will say that double count made a huge impact on me. Like, I did find it incredibly compelling as like a 5-year-old. Like,
well, I get it, because it's a compelling finish when we're watching wrestling too.
Yes,
right?
yes. Yeah. It's like, who will get up? Who can get up? It works. That works really well, I think. And like you said, it's like wrestling's copied it, sometimes making no attempt to hide the fact that they're copying that many times since. And then also,
I just feel bad for Apollo, honestly. Like,
but I will say, I love the respect moment when he, this time, because at the end of the first one they don't talk to each other after the bell is rung, except for the like no rematch part. But the fact that Rocky, after he wins, tells Apollo, "You're great," and Apollo pats Rocky on the head. I was like, "Aw," I like that a lot.
Wow, this is your favorite movie of all time,
and that's why Rocky 2 is not just my favorite Rocky movie, but the best movie. And Adrian and Polly aren't there, but he yells, "Yo, Adrian, I did it."
I'm hoping to eventually like Polly at some point. Maybe not. Maybe it'll never happen.
Oh, and then we have that closing credits with like the art of like Mickey and Rocky's embrace.
Oh yeah, in the song.
Yeah.
What song was that? Was it a Frank Stallone song?
Probably. I mean, Frank Stallone songs are all over this series, and that's not a joke.
No, I know. A lot of for sure.
There's a lot of original Frank Stallone over this. Series.
Frank Stallone. Yeah, Frank Stallone says vocals on 7 tracks. Okay.
So this movie, of course, notably weaker. Its very existence is like, as you're watching it and its own story, and you're like, this is kind of diminishing the first, that they were supposed to follow this. It feels a lot more hollow compared to the first one. I still think it hits the major beats well. And I think, as we're going to see as we go to 3 and 4, they will sort of escalate in a way that is probably for the best if they're going to keep making these movies. Because once again, they could have ended it here. Could have been like, and now the little guy became the champ, even though that's not what the first movie was about. But because they keep going, they have to kind of go bigger, which is probably for the best, because this one trying to replicate the first one was going to feel a lot more hollow than movies like 3 and 4, where they're just like, we're going to go into superhero territory a lot more.
Oh, for sure. And the fights get more,
Yes.
superhero-esque.
Mm-hmm.
And but then things sort of sink and swell realism wise with this series. And because at no point was I watching the first Creed being like, oh, this is, that first movie. Creed is great. So like heading all the way back, circling all the way back to something that really super works as a character movie and a sports movie, that as a legacy sequel. So it still can be done. You can still return to the blueprint and do really well with it. All right.
Yeah, and we'll see this series try and fail and try and succeed in that regard as when later chapters. Yeah.
Yes. Until next time, everything is possible, but nothing is real. And Adrian, we did it. And
we
Shockma.
did it. Shockma.
Shockma!